My name is Gena Harper. I'm a senior vice president at Morgan Stanley, so I do investment management. I'm a single mom of two teenagers, young adults, a 17-year-old boy and a 19-year-old girl. I was born with congenital glaucoma, and I could see much better when I was younger. I sort of found myself in the situation where I didn't need a cane, or I didn't really need much, but I still couldn't see that well. So it was as though I could see too much to be blind, but I couldn't see well enough to see. And that went on for a long time, till I was about 18 years old. So in school, the situation was that the teachers and a lot of adults, like, they didn't know what to do with a person like that, sort of in the middle, and it was hard. The thing that, well, I really struggled with it. I didn't want to be blind, so I thought I would look ugly and I would look old, and I didn't have good role models. I didn't really know any cool blind people, and it was a challenge. I didn't know what bus stop it was, or what grocery store it was, or what the street address was, and because I wouldn't use a cane or anything, it was hard for people to know that I couldn't see well.
So when did you decide to accept your low vision and begin the process of finding resources to make your environment work?
So I really did live in, reality was that I had low vision, but I wanted to hide that from the world, so I really did a lot to hide that. And then in high school, my eyes started getting worse, and I wanted to go to college. So I took a GED and got out of high school a year early, and I went to college, and I had somebody show me the way, so I memorized everything. And this one particular day, they put up a construction site at the college that I went to, so I ran into the barricade, and then I went around the barricade, and I fell down a set of stairs. And I was okay, but I thought, now is the time. I really need to do something. And what the something that I needed to do to deal with my low vision was I really needed to get some skills, like independent living skills, and I had no tools, no technology. I was completely unequipped to be a blind person. And any level, I mean, being blind, you run the gamut from low, high vision, a high partial, to low vision, to losing your vision, to no vision. And so there's there's living skills centers, and there's organizations that offer a lot of training and tools and technology and orientation and mobility, which is how to use a cane, should you get a seeing eye dog. So I went to what I would call a school for the blind, called the Orientation Center for the Blind in California, and I learned how to read Braille, I learned how to use a cane, I knew how to cook, but I didn't know how to cook as a blind person, so everything was done under blindfold. And the most amazing thing was that I had told my story to myself about how awful it was to be a blind person. I mean, I really convinced myself of this. And the day I went to the school, they gave me a cane, and I went to BART, which is the Bay Area Rapid Transit. It's a train system in the Bay Area. And I was standing on the platform with my cane that I didn't know how to use. And this woman came up to me and she said, "Do you need to know what BART train it is?" I thought, I've needed to know for 18 years, lady, what BART train it is, what bus stop it is, what bus it is, what street it is. I've needed this information for so long. And that really changed my view on what it was to use a cane or give any indication that I was a blind person. And then I also did not have any good role models of blind people. I didn't really know any blind people. My mom didn't know any blind people. And again, some of this is just dealing with reality, and I was sort of in denial. And so at the School for the Blind, I met a handful of really successful blind people, and they were amazing. So I was learning skills, and I was feeling super positive about how I could label things, how I could find my clothes, how I could cook for my family, and all those kinds of skills. And so the school also had a lot of extracurricular activities. So I signed up for everything. This whole mindset change of, I don't want to be blind, I'm going to look ugly, I'm going to look old, to, wow, if I use a cane, people are going to understand that I can't see well, and they're going to offer to help me, and I'm going to get what I need more, I'm going to get it faster than I was getting it before, and I don't need to be embarrassed about it. And So then I signed up for all these sports activities. I went skiing, I went rock climbing, I went rafting, I went windsurfing. I was like a person let out of prison. I really felt like when I was a child, they just didn't know what to do with me. I mean, they really treated me like a fragile egg. And there was a lot of like, you can't this, you can't that. And that was simply that these teachers and these grown-ups, like they didn't know how they would do it themselves. Like they really were perplexed about how would a blind person do these kind of things. And I really never got the message that there's always a way, that yes, I can. I really got the message like, like that's a problem. Like, I don't know how you're going to do that. But at this point in my life, I was 18 years old, going to the orientation center, learning these living skills, learning how to use computers, and my life was opening up for me. And so the skiing, I became a world-class downhill skier. I got second place out of 5 countries, and that was using a guide. So a person skis in front of me and they say, right turn, left turn, right turn, left turn. And all these sports are modified to a degree, but even if they're not, I just have this attitude that there's always a way. And what I was running into was people, besides in school and trying to get jobs, even on the sports, people would say, well, like a blind person can't do that. And I mean, I had to learn to advocate for myself. And I say, yes, they can. Like, I can do this, and I'll figure it out. And I also learned that if somebody told me no, that I'd go ask somebody else. So until somebody else would say yes, that I could do that thing. And so the sports really changed my mind and my perspective. And so did the different skills that I learned, the cooking, the using a cane, the labeling things, being able to find my stuff, using computers. It was all life-changing.
What would you say are the tricks you use most in living with your low vision and blindness?
Along that path of losing your vision, you are stuck a lot in, like, you can't see enough, but you can see too much. And in that world, in that space, it's hard. You're not really sure what to do. And my advice about that is just to learn more than you ever need to know. If you don't need to know how to read Braille right now, but you will in your lifetime, like, learn that now. And so I learned all these skills in advance, and the benefit to me of doing that was that as my vision progressed and would get worse, I would slow down for about 3 weeks, and then it was no big deal. I mean, I would recall what I had learned. So I am a huge advocate of technology. So I find that people run the gamut from not liking technology to not knowing how to use technology, or they have a mindset of, I'm bad with technology. And I think you need to put that aside, and it's really a matter of getting the skills of how to use things. So in a day in my life, I get up, I do things for my children, I go to work, I use the proverbial toolbox. Like, I really do have a toolbox. It's not a real toolbox, it's a toolbox in my mind and in my house, that has many different things in it. So I use basic things like a rubber band to distinguish my shampoo from my conditioner. I use a talking computer to access everything for my job. I use Braille to label things, and I label my lotion in the bathroom, or I label a CD that I want to know the music, or I label a file on my desk that I want to hand to somebody and I want to know what it is. I Braille my credit cards with a label. I use a service called IRA that is amazing, and it's spelled AIRA. And IRA is a service through an iPhone where you call an agent, and they have a profile about you. You give them information, and they can go to websites for you. They can look things up for you. They can take photos for you. They can do anything pretty much, and that's amazing. So I use them when I'm in a pickle, but I also use them for multitasking. Like, I'll do my dishes and read articles for my work. I'll have them read the articles while I'm doing the dishes. I use an iPhone, is amazing, and the iPhone has a lot of options if you're just low vision and need large print, or if you need voiceover, which is the phone actually talks to you. That's been life-changing. I use Uber and Lyft because before I'd always have to arrange rides or get a cab. I use a seeing eye dog and I use a cane, not at the same time. Then those are a lot of the tools that I use.
How do you stay motivated?
Well, personally, I really seek challenges in my life, and I'm a pretty big risk taker. And one thing is, I have found myself in certain times of my life, as we all have found ourselves, in either a breakup of a relationship, or I had a really bad eye accident last year, and where I was just essentially in a funk. And I just knew within myself that I had to keep going, and I do live by there is always a way. And I have a number of sort of my rules, or I call them Gena's gems, and they are: there's always a way, I work really hard, I'm considered a woman of action, I am very ingenious, so I always find a way, a workaround, whatever it takes to do what I want to do. And so what I have found personally is the sports and outdoor activities. Like I thrive with those. And
What have been some of your greatest accomplishments?
so I decided to try out for the U.S. National Paracycling Team, and that is on a tandem bike with, I'm on the back, of course, hopefully for everybody else, and somebody else is on the front. And I made that team. In my competition, I was about 47 years old, and my competition was 25. And so I thought, well, how am I going to beat these gals? And I thought, well, pretty much willpower and sheer determination and motivation. I did learn in my life how to work hard and to motivate myself, and I have willpower, and I know how to train really hard. So I made the U.S. National Paracycling Team. That was a huge accomplishment. From my skiing, I got second place out of 5 countries, so I became a world-class downhill skier. And that was really the first time that I felt that I could do something better than sighted people. Other personal accomplishments are my job. So there's only 3 blind financial advisor women in the United States. That's a huge accomplishment. And there's only 17% women in the entire industry of financial services. And I'd say I really am proud of myself as a mom. And before I had kids, I thought, well, how am I going to do this blind? Like, how am I going to change a baby diaper? It was so simple. But being a mom is not so simple, but changing a diaper was simple. And this year, I'm working on training for Half Dome, and that's another very hard adventure that I'm going to go on. So Half Dome is a gigantic like rock in Yosemite. To climb Half Dome, it's really a series of steps. So it's not rock climbing, it's more hiking. It's pretty extreme hiking. It's about 12 to 14 mile hike, very steep, and around 10,000 feet elevation. So it's just going to be a really serious hike. I'm a really accomplished rock climber, and I love that. I love rock climbing. I love kayaking. I just love all outdoor things.
In closing, what would be your greatest advice for someone who's living with low vision?
My advice to a person living with low vision is to really embrace that they can do anything. They truly can do anything. It is simply a matter of figuring out how they're going to do it. And to not be discouraged if they go to a doctor or they go somewhere and they're told they can't. I mean, they need to dismiss that. They need to say, that person does not have the right information. They just don't know the answer. But the answer is out there, and my advice would be to do whatever it is you want to do in your life, figure out a way to do it, find out who else is doing it, to really get familiar with the resources in your local area, such as an independent living skills center or just organizations that deal with blindness. Perhaps get involved in groups of peers that might be dealing with low vision. And I network a lot, and I just call people that know what I want to know or who I think can sort of help me in whatever endeavor I'm pursuing. And also that you don't have to live your life around a bunch of people with low vision. I don't do that. I literally decide what I want to do, and I just educate the people that I need to involve in doing that. So do not let anything get in your way. Don't think you can't. To know that you can do anything that you want. It's just a matter of figuring out how. And don't let people tell you no. Just ignore those people.
Gena, you are incredible and inspirational, and thank you for sharing your experiences.